say this story is as much mine as it is also story, absolutely interwoven. And hopefully as I share this story with you, some of the different walls that I hit and then the solutions and ways we solved around it that will hopefully help you with some of your own conversations when you have one plan, you're like, oh, we hit a wall, but then how can we get around it or get over it? I started out at UBS as a financial advisor, and when I got accepted to the financial advisor training program, this long family friend that has been a lifelong mentor to me, she took me out for a fancy meal at McCormick and Schmick's next to Philadelphia City Hall. And I thought we were celebrating because I got in, because UBS accepted me. She's like, well, that's part of the reason, but the main part of the reason is that I'm going to be your first official client. She was already into her 60s, had a wonderfully successful life as an educator, from teacher, principal, superintendent, to founder of a school. And she was like, I'm so woefully behind. So I'm in my late 60s now. I'm never going to save her. I'll probably have to work till I drop. And I'm like, all right, we're going to solve for this. And so where Elms came in is that UBS taught me all about more the financial planning side, but the holistic is really where Elms helped me, where I could actually say holistic, you know, the looking at the whole, all the facets. And she says, you know, my husband, he is not a caregiver. And I can't picture, should I come to a point in life where I need help and assistance, I do not want to have to rely on my husband. so she was like, so let's see what we can do about some sort of long-term care policy, something that's going to help me have options other than just my husband. And she had no biological kids. So that was not something she was counting on. So one, with them sort of saying, you know, well, if you apply as a couple, you can get a couple's discount. So we first tried that route, and across carriers. As a couple, you have one carrier that said, well, we are declining her because her height-weight ratio is off. And so that was a new conversation that also won't tell me, how do you tell somebody this? But her husband is fine. And then the other carrier said, well, we will take her, but she has a history of congestive heart failure in her family. Her mother had passed when she was only age 64. So we're like, well, so we might think that's in the cards for you too. So your premium is a bit elevated. And the husband, we're going to give him a soft decline because he's not following what his doctor said to do about his knees. So they was like, so the husband has to apply the following year again, and we will reconsider if he started to work with his doctor on what they wanted him to do about his knees. So in the end, the husband decided, well, I don't want to pay this premium at all. Her premium was actually much higher than his. And she had sticker shock, and I was like, wow, yeah, it's a little bit up there. And like I said, she was in her late 60s too, with this history of congestive heart failure. But what really actually also helped was that she had a friend that had, they call a moment of confusion, and so she was in a long-term care facility, but they said if she gets visited by a nice little group of friends, it can kind of reorientate the mind back. They can, you know, get her set again. And so she's like, okay, we're going to go out and visit my friend. So I got this call on Monday. We visited the friend over the weekend. And so we had the address. We went in, and she says, Monique, there were butts hanging out everywhere, of robes. It smelled like all kinds of biological matter. She says, and I went up to the security guard and was like, we're looking for this person. And he was like, oh, same street, just got to keep up the hill. You're at the wrong facility. Just keep going. And so she went up the hill. She says, Monique, this place now had courtyards. It had like sunlit windows. And she says it was no smells. And our friend was very well attended. We had a beautiful time. It looked like it also helped her out a whole lot. And she says, I found out she had a long-term care policy. And that's why she was not in the Medicaid facility at the bottom of the hill. She was in the private pay facility at the top of the hill. And she said, so, all right, this is worth it. Get me signed up because I want these kind of choices. I want the place that doesn't smell, and so I want to have the options of bringing the help to me. So she's
brilliant, Martin. Did everybody write that?
No, send them to the wrong address, right? So we quickly put this into place, and she's then was asked to work the premium. Now, also introduced me to fixed index annuity. Al Gray, you told me how the Mastered XX for Allianz worked years ago. Explained the structure of that. I don't know if you remember that, but the Pension Protection Act had come out, and we initially thought we could structure it that this non-qualified fixed index annuity could just do a nice tax-free transfer straight to pay the long-term care policy. What we did learn was that particular carrier said we don't want to accept it that way. So they do have that option to not. What ended up working out nice though is that we just used that 10% free withdrawal, which its amount matched up almost perfectly for the annual premium due on her policy. So one of the things whenever I'm setting up stuff for my clients, I always try to, when it comes to long-term care policy, we figure out how we're going to pay for it. We're not just going to, we figure out ahead of time. We're not going to be figuring out in retirement, okay, how we're going to pay this premium. Like this, we'll have a dedicated pot that deals with that. And that's something I find takes away the stress of premiums when you've already defined where is this going to come from. And so having this policy each year, we would take out our free withdrawal. She would write the check off to the long-term care carrier, and this went on for a number of years. And then she started to have a little bit more struggles. The congestive heart failure did actually start to really slow her down a lot. And one thing, and this I share with you because this was a learning experience for me, when you deal with clients who've achieved a lot in their lifetime, and maybe they've founded things, they've driven things, they've led things. One thing I'm going to try to do better, because I do have a lot of these, leadership type clients, and that's the reason why they brought me into their life to look after their pots, because they're looking at other pots. And so I would say it's hard for them to admit when they hit that point where they do need to bring in the help, where they do need to turn on a long-term care policy. Because it's not always sudden, it's not always a dramatic event, it's more of a slower decline. And Tricia was very helpful. She's like, why don't we just start an app and just see, because you got to go through approval. But that took at least a good 9 months, almost a year, before could really get, and I wish I maybe had plucked her a little bit more, because she could even have started even sooner, because she did get approved. She did have enough activities of daily living to turn on a policy. Which I saw that we actually could have probably started a year earlier, but she turned this on. And she knew she had all the convenience of being able to age in place, which is my main conversation driver. The ability to age in place, age where you want to, where it's going to, you can bring the help to you. And that she did. And and I said, look, if you don't like the first person, you can bring in another. You're in the driver's seat here. And she did switch attendants. The second attendant was also just amazing, because I don't know if you remember Billy Paul with the Me, Mrs. Jones, the big hit, Me, Mrs. Jones. Well, she was backup singer for Billy Paul.
Whoa.
During the pandemic, the arts industry, music and arts got, you couldn't go to the theater, you couldn't go to jazz shows. So she had taken on this side daytime hustle of being a caregiver by day and then performer at night. So here she had Billy Paul's backup singer, who's now solo singer, as her caregiver, and they developed this wonderful, beautiful relationship. And she was enjoying and looking towards her visits when she would come, and sometimes they would just go out to just people watch and other sort of things. And I lost this kind of last month. So I got to speak with the caregiver, and she told me, she became like a mother to me. And she had fell down in the bathroom, and they were calling paramedics to come. And she said, just get my pillow and held her hand until she passed with a smile on her face. And if I could, I couldn't have written that any better, because she was in her home where she wanted to be. she was with somebody that she felt cared about. And it was the way, you know, the parents, she had a smile on her face. And so, you know, when you're, you know, working, I said, the only thing I would do differently is that I would have encouraged, like, let's bring in help. And she was thrilled to hear that by turning on help, she didn't have to pay the premiums anymore. She was like, this is the coolest thing. You know? But you know, it sometimes takes a lot of little twists and turns in conversation, but overall, like, just with holistic planning, focusing on how do you envision what you want for yourself. What do you want, you know, and for her case, I want to have help in addition to who's around me, you know, and I want to be in my, this is a true age and place story. Hopefully that was helpful.
Thank you.